phenomenal. No one worked as hard as Jerry Rice. No one was technically sound as Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice did that because I'm not a freak athlete like somebody like T.O. or Randy Moss. And that made him the GOAT receiver because he was that technically sound. So imagine if Randy Moss' athleticism was met by Jerry Rice's fundamentals and technically sound footwork and route running and everything, right? And work ethic, because I don't think Moss worked as hard as Rice in the offseason. Only receiver that probably did was T.O., and he probably learned that from Rice when he played for San Francisco. So imagine the workout, the offseason workout, the fundamentally sound, and the freak athleticism of Moss in one receiver. That's what Michael Jordan was. He was the freak athlete. He worked harder than everybody in the offseason and during the season. And then he was more fundamentally sound than everybody. And then he was smart as hell too. High IQ, right? So imagine all of that in one player. I don't think we've seen that. We seen a freak athlete in LeBron. He's smart. He worked hard as far as working on his body in the offseason. But he don't work hard on the fundamentals and the technically sound aspect of his game. So that part is missing. Kobe Bryant was a great athlete, not a freak. LeBron and Mike are freaks. Kobe wasn't a freak. So Kobe's not a freak, but he's working harder than everybody in the offseason and during the season. He's very smart, and he's technically sound, probably more technically sound than Mike. The only thing Kobe was missing was the freak athleticism. He was a great athlete, probably top 15% athlete, but not top 1. So just imagine Mike having everything. Mike was lacking nothing. That's why people say he's complete. So I'm listening to Kenny Smith had a conversation with Mark Jackson on his podcast with his son. And Kenny Smith got a unique perspective. And the reason why I like his perspective is when it's dealing with basketball and NBA period, is because he really seems non-biased. He really seems like he talks common sense. And then when it comes to specifically Michael Jordan, he had a front seat. He played a couple of years with him at North Carolina, man, and I think that's unique. So I like to hear Kenny Smith talk on this topic, man. He's very level-headed. But of course, Mark Jackson's son is a Gen Z guy. Well, I don't know how I really know how. He's a young guy, put it that way. So of course, LeBron is his GOAT, and he don't get the Michael Jordan thing. He didn't live through it. He didn't see it. So the conversation came up. They asked about it, and I like when Kenny Smith and Mark Jackson said, and I like when anyone says this, Michael Jordan was a complete player. And I like that word complete better than all around, because all around has gotten a bad name. They call Luka and LeBron all around players only because they do so many things on the offensive end. But Luka doesn't translate and do anything on the defensive end. So how can you be all around when you got two sides of the ball, offense and defense? And to get all around, you have to do offense and defense. Like, you can't make a circle and skip defense. Like, to get all around player, you have to be playing defense and offense. So I hate that term all around, but we've used that term synonymous with players that play point guard, score, and rebound, right? Assist, rebound, and score. If you have a player like Westbrook, Harden, LeBron, Luka, anybody who runs the point guard position, which means you're gonna get all the assists for your team, or most of the assists for your team, but also that person who's the point guard is also the primary scorer, so that means you're going to get most of the points. And then for some odd reason, every player that plays that style of offense, they rest on defense. Even LeBron James, as good as a defender he was, when he was doing so much for the Cleveland Cavaliers, when he was playing with J.R. Smith and Kyrie and Kevin Love, when he was doing so much of that offensive load, he had to take breaks on defense, right? So Harden, synonymous with a bad defender. Luka, synonymous with a bad defender. Westbrook, when he was playing triple-double basketball, was synonymous with a bad defender. And so was LeBron. But LeBron and Westbrook both actually can play defense. It's just that when they was playing triple-double basketball, point forward basketball, point guard basketball, primary scorer, primary distributor basketball, they took breaks on defense. So you can't be all around. So I like the term complete better, because complete means, it puts you in the mindset of lack of flaws, no weaknesses, whatever, however you want to say it, right? And that's how a lot of people look at Michael Jordan. They can't really find flaws that can be exploited by the opponent to his disadvantage. You can't say I'm going to send him this way. You can't say I'm going to put him on the free throw line. You can't say I'm going to give him the jumper. You can't say put a bigger guy on him, put a smaller guy on him, double him, triple him. You can't come in with a game plan and say all those things. That mean he didn't have a weakness, right? So here's Kenny Smith talking about it.
Okay. Playing at North Carolina with Michael Jordan
in the same backcourt.
In the same backcourt. This is what the people want to know. It's not even me. I'm standing up for the people at this moment. Could Michael Jordan go left?
This is what I'm dealing with.
This is the hypocrisy of idiocy that is going on right now.
This is what the people want to see, man.
Michael Jordan go left.
You haven't heard we done with the 90s?
No, but listen what I'm saying.
Help.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
No, you serious.
No, I'm not serious. I'm not serious.
You know what that would be like? That's like saying, can Prince play the guitar?
That's a great word.
Like, yeah, he had people in the band that played it.
Yeah.
But then that's Michael Jordan, man. Like, Michael Jordan was the most complete basketball player that's ever lived. Complete. Like, Kareem was just as effective. Certain people could be, LeBron at times could be just as effective. But the most complete basketball player that ever lived is Michael Jordan. Completeness.
Preach.
So, like, his ability to do every aspect of basketball at the highest level. And I think that came from going to college. Because in college, the best...
I'm glad you're talking. I say that when he got to the pros, he had no weaknesses.
He had no weaknesses. Because what happens is, what college does, the best coaches are in college.
I like how he said when he got to the pros, he had no weaknesses, right? When he got to the pros. So I think Kenny Smith is on record saying that when Michael Jordan was a freshman and they used to trash talk and play one-on-one and all that stuff, Kenny Smith would tell Jordan, you can't dribble. And he said Michael Jordan worked all summer on his handles. And when he came back the next year, there wasn't a weakness anymore for him dribbling. So when he got to the pros, he had no weakness. I still think that shooting was a little bit of a weakness for Jordan, especially three-point shooting when he first got to the league. I think his mid-range form, his shooting form was already great. He had great shot mechanics. He did everything right. He elevated high on his shot. He released it at the apex, all that good stuff, right? But he didn't have enough reps for it to be something that he can rely on. And I think as time went by, his mid-range got good. Free throws his mid-range got great. Free throws got great. And then he developed the three-point shot. I would say around, you couldn't leave him open around his fifth year, maybe. You know what I mean? So by his fifth year, I don't think he had any weakness. They're saying when he came in the league, I still think he had some weaknesses. But by year 5, I don't think he had any.
Playing at North Carolina with Michael Jordan.
In the same backcourt.
In the same backcourt. This is what the people want to know. It's not even me. I'm standing up for the people at this moment. Could Michael Jordan go left?
This is what I'm dealing with.
This is the hypocrisy of idiocy that is going on right now.
This is what the people want to see, man.
Michael Jordan go left.
You haven't heard we done with the 90s?
No, but listen what I'm saying.
Help.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
No, you serious.
No, I'm not serious. I'm not serious.
You know what that would be like? That's like saying, can Prince play the guitar?
That's a great word.
Like, yeah, he had people in the band that played it.
Yeah.
But Then that's Michael Jordan, man. Like Michael Jordan was the most complete basketball player that's ever lived. Complete. Like Kareem was just as effective. Certain people could be, LeBron at times could be just as effective. But the most complete basketball player that ever lived is Michael Jordan. Completeness.
Preach.
So like his ability to do every aspect of basketball at the highest level. And I think that came from going to college. Because in college, the best...
I'm glad you're talking. I say that when he got to the pros, he had no weaknesses.
He had no weaknesses. Because what happens is, what college does, the best coaches are in college basketball. Because there's more. The best ones are there. So they design defenses and offenses that are different from the NBA. So you learn how to play against a zone defense. You learn how to play against a man-to-man, 1-3-1, 2-1-2. You know different defenses. NBA is just strict man-to-man, but your philosophies and thought process is from a totality of all of those defenses. So now the game is easier for you, and you're much more easier. What I always say about Michael, what's different between even the great Kobe Bryant and great LeBron James is he was still the most fundamental basketball player. Like LeBron's IQ is crazy, but the most fundamental, when you watch LeBron, you don't always say he's most fundamental. So correct hand in the passing lane. But that was Michael. He was the best athlete and the most fundamental because he went to college for 3 years and developed certain things. You know, even I was laughing with my son. He goes, "Oh, you know, I saw you dunking in the league, but you know, you like 3 years of it." I'm like, because I had 4 in college. I would have never stayed in college for 4 years in today. I was first team All-American. I would have been on a draft board. So I would have never stayed. It was wrong to leave. Like then it was called hardship. Like it almost meant you were broke. Like, and your family was destitute if you went to the NBA instead of going to college before. That was the stigma that they had on us. So we would like, everybody, I ain't going to college. I ain't leaving college yet. I ain't broke. I ain't like that. I ain't one of them dudes. So you stay. So my bet, I had 4 years where I'm jumping from the free throw line. That was in college. Then I caught 2 or 3 years in there. So 7 years. So I'm like, you just missed my most athletic years. It was some of them were in college. Michael Jordan, those 3 years in college, imagine he only went 1 year. Oh my God, or none. Michael Jordan, most complete basketball player. Y'all average dudes would have been average.
Michael Jordan is the most complete basketball player. Let me try to break that down. One thing that he said that I like, that he said, is that Michael Jordan was the greatest. He was one of the best athletes, right? I'm not gonna say the greatest athlete. He was a phenomenal athlete when you're talking about leaping ability, speed, strength, quickness, endurance, all of that stuff, man, phenomenal athlete, right? So you can say he's one of the greatest, maybe the greatest, who knows? I don't even know how you measure that for real and figure out who the greatest athlete is, but 1% athlete. Not a lot of times you see the 1% athlete also go down and develop and perfect the fundamentals of the game. Because when you're a 1% athlete, you can daggone near go pro with just that. Like if I'm 1% athlete, like Zion Williamson, he ain't have to work on nothing about his game. And he went straight to Matt Donald's All-American, Duke University, top. Was he number one pick? Number one pick off pure athleticism. I'm big and I can jump really high and dunk really hard. You were watching him in high school and you could tell he didn't have anything to his game. No wiggle on the perimeter, no post game. Everything that he does great on the basketball court requires his athleticism. His shot blocking and his rebounding requires his athleticism, and he's not even that good of a rebounder. Out of all the power forwards, Zion Williamson, he's probably averaging like 4 rebounds a game last season. One of the worst rebounders. But he went straight to Duke and the number one pick in the draft off pure athleticism, right? So you rarely see a top 1% athlete get as technically sound as a Mayweather or a Jordan or who else technically sound? Jerry Rice. Like Jerry Rice wasn't Moss. Moss was a freak. Jerry Rice was not a freak. But no one worked harder than Jerry Rice. People still talk about Jerry Rice off-season workouts. People still talk about his off-season workouts. Phenomenal. No one worked as hard as Jerry Rice. No one was technically sound as Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice did that because I'm not a freak athlete like somebody like T.O. or Randy Moss. And that made him the GOAT receiver because he was that technically sound. So imagine if Randy Moss' athleticism was met by Jerry Rice's fundamentals and technically sound footwork and route running and everything, right? And work ethic, because I don't think Moss worked as hard as Rice in the offseason. Only receiver that probably did was T.O., and he probably learned that from Rice when he played for San Francisco. So imagine the workout, the offseason workout, the fundamentally sound, and the freak athleticism of Moss in one receiver. That's what Michael Jordan was. He was the freak athlete. He worked harder than everybody in the offseason and during the season. And then he was more fundamentally sound than everybody. And then he was smart as hell too. High IQ, right? So imagine all of that in one player. I don't think we've seen that. We seen a freak athlete in LeBron. He's smart. He worked hard as far as working on his body in the offseason, but he don't work hard on the fundamentals and the technically sound aspect of his game. So that part is missing. Kobe Bryant was a great athlete, not a freak. LeBron and Mike are freaks. Kobe wasn't a freak. So Kobe's not a freak, but he's working harder than everybody in the offseason and during the season. He's very smart, and he's technically sound, probably more technically sound than Mike. The only thing Kobe was missing was the freak athleticism. He was a great athlete, probably top 15% athlete, but not top 1. So just imagine Mike having everything. Mike was lacking nothing. That's why people say he's complete. That's why Mike's complete. He's going to continue to talk about the defense.
There's no one like that. He is the most complete basketball player. And then there's two. Yeah. Most effective, like LeBron James is effective. He can impact the game, but I just don't think defensively is where that's the separation to me, is where defensively we used to run. I don't know if y'all did this. We used to run plays, right? We go, okay, our coach, Rudy T, be writing on the board. He's like, okay, we're going to run 5. But if Michael's on the right side, we're going to run it on the left. He's like, all right, say it one time, right? You think it's a joke. So in my mind, I know Michael as Mike. So I'm still listening as he's still my boy, kind of. And he goes, okay, and we're going to run 21. But if Michael's on the left side, we're going to run. And he'd go down each play and say where Michael was. And we're going to run it on a different side.
That's insane.
That's the impact defensively had. Did they do that? I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's the part that even when I talk to coaches, they don't say that he has that impact. LeBron has the same effect on the offensive end that Michael has because his passing, rebounding. But on the defensive end, that's the caveat that separates it.
The defensive end. So this is not, we're just not talking about how great this dude was on the offensive end. It translated over to the defensive end. He said Rudy T was drawing plays up doing film study and saying whatever side Mike is on, we're running this play to the opposite side. And then Mark Jackson said, yeah, I concur. We was doing the same thing in our locker room as well. That's insane. He's not a 7-foot shot blocker. Like they was running plays on the opposite side of him like he was on like he was Reeves Island. Think about that. It's like he was the boogeyman. And when people say, yeah, we feared Mike, yeah, it had nothing to do with throwing hands. It was the fact that you feared what he could do to you in a basketball aspect. So when people say, it was Mike put fear in our heart, it wasn't that we thought Mike was gonna come in here and whoop our tail. Why would Shaq be scared of Mike? That's not what they're talking about. So I hate when people be like, yeah, we feared Mike, and then somebody put up a clip of Bill Laimbeer slam him or him and McDaniel getting into it, or him and Reggie Miller get into it, like, oh, nobody feared Mike. They're not talking about fighting, bro. Come on, man. Y'all so simple-minded. Now they're not talking about fighting. But a complete player, and he was complete on both ends and feared on both ends and an A+ on both ends. When the last time you found somebody that was an A+ on both ends of the floor? And then an A+ off the court as far as work ethic, and A+ off the court as far as basketball IQ and studying the game and study the history of the game. Like Kobe wasn't the first to start picking everybody apart for pieces of their greatness. Michael Jordan said he watched so much of David Thompson. He watched so much of Dr. J. He watched so much of Oscar. When have you seen that? That's Elgin Baylor. That's when he got the idea as a 6'6" guard. Hey, I'm gonna post up like these centers do, and I'm gonna put work in down there. You didn't see that a lot. When Mike started getting in the post and hitting them fadeaways and doing it on people, that was like almost a new thing. Like I think it was other guards. It was like, dang, I ain't even never think of that. I didn't even know you could do that. But if they would have watched some of the guys before them, they would have known, oh man, add it to your game, because the big guards like Oscar was doing it. The guards like who was in New York? I can't remember if it was it wasn't Archibald. It was another guard that was a little bigger. And I forget, y'all, somebody help me out, man. I know Troy know. One of the New York guards that was a microwave as a scorer, and a little and you know, had a wide frame, and he could post. You know, he was almost like a Carmelo down there. But I'm forgetting his name. It might have been Erdipur. I'm not. No, Erdipur was smaller. It was a bigger guard. It might be Walt Frazier. It might be Walt. It might be it wasn't Monroe. It might be either Walt. Bernard King, that's who it was. Bernard King, thank you. Bernard King, that's who it was, man. So yeah, when you watch those old films, you can find pieces of your game. Yep, y'all got it right. Bernard King. I couldn't think of that name. But he was studying that stuff, man. He was taking pieces of that. Why everybody else wasn't doing it? You know, and then after Mike, why everybody wasn't doing it until Kobe started doing it? Like, nobody's taking pieces. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And people knock Kobe for looking at Mike. Mike was the GOAT and a complete player. Why wouldn't you study a complete player? You want to bounce anything off the standard, because the standard is supposed to be the closest thing to perfection. Every ruler that's made in the factory, they have to line it up with a standard that's 12 inches exactly. That standard is exactly 12 inches. So every rule I make, I have to line it up to that standard, because that standard is closest to perfection as possible, closest to 12 inches as possible. So when you're talking about a perfect basketball player, especially if you play on the perimeter, you want to study Mike, right? And if you don't want to go that far back because the game was so different back then, well, you study Kobe. But I don't know if there's another player you can study right now. Some people studying Kevin Durant, but you know, it's a lot of Kevin Durant disciples out there. But most people, you know, these guys, they all went to the Mamba Academy. They're studying Kobe. They're studying the Mamba, which means they're studying Mike. You get me? And players that want to be fundamentally sound like they have a great respect for the Mamba and have a great respect for Michael Jordan. But players as far as chasing those stats, Harden don't want to perfect his game like Kobe did. You get what I'm saying? I doubt Luka do either. And I know Luka ain't watching no freaking Kobe or LeBron. I mean, no Kobe or no Mike, because if he watching them, he'll feel bad about himself about not playing defense. So I know Luka ain't watching them. I know LeBron ain't watching them, because he gonna feel bad about not playing defense. He gonna feel bad about still playing at age 40, trying to get stats. It ain't his turn no more. He's still sitting on the pot, and he done crap 3 times already. It's time to get up, flush, and get up, and do what you need to do. It's time for somebody else to sit on the pot. He's still sitting on the pot. He holding up the line.